You know, we've all wanted to be a fly on the wall once in a while, right? Well, I'm going to kind of invite you to do that with me. Let's go back in time. I'm going to get to know somebody I think you'll like to know, but I need you to imagine you're a fly on a wall. It's the early 1990s. You're in a doctor's office. There's that big doctor's desk, and there's 4 chairs on one side of it, the doctor's chairs on the other. The paneling's that ugly brown stuff we used all the time back then. There's 3 people sitting in that desk, or in front of the desk. And there's this old man on the one side, not really all that old. He's in his early 70s, and he's fidgeting with his hat. He just keeps moving that hat around. His hands are really nervous. He's a muscular guy, and his skin wrapped around that muscular body it's worn and sun-baked. And his hands, they're swollen and calloused. Everything about him screams hard life and hard work. Next to him, there's this dainty little lady. She's gray-haired, but not too gray, neat, not made up. She's sitting there with, she's working a rosary in her hand, and in the other hand's this little white handkerchief and a really neat red embroidered hem on it. Next to her is this much younger man. He looks just like the older man on the other side of the lady, but he looks a little too young to be his son, a little too old to be his grandson. And they're sitting there in silence. You know, and finally the old man, he breaks the silence. He puts his hand on the woman's knee and he says, Dort, where are we? The woman, she says, Paul, we're at the doctor's office to see if I'm sick. Paul jumps up. Oh, surely not. And he's way more upset than you would expect him to be. The young man finally comes around, and the woman's trying to settle him down. The young man, he says, Dad, it'll be okay. And the two of them, they get the gentleman settled down and sat back down in his seat. The young man goes back and sits in his seat, and they wait in silence again. Finally, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, the silence is broken. The old man, he puts his hand on the woman's knee and he says, Dort, where are we? Finally, a young doctor comes in. He looks much younger than you'd expect him to be. Hair's even a little bit on the long side. And he sits down at the desk and they exchange some idle chit-chat and pleasantries. And finally, he looks up from his desk after a little bit of silence. He's obviously as nervous as everybody else in the room. And he says, Dorothy, you know we don't have any tests to say for sure if somebody has Alzheimer's or not. But after talking with you for a long time and asking you a lot of questions, I'm pretty certain you too have early onset Alzheimer's. The woman, she buries her face in her hands, and you can hear her start to cry softly, and she sniffles, and the gentleman, he says, Dort, what's wrong? What's wrong? And finally, she looks up and she blows her nose and wipes her eyes, and she looks the doctor straight in the face and says, okay, so what do we do now? Now move ahead a few years, okay? Fast forward, and now Mom and Dad, they're both in a nursing home. They're in 2 different sections. Mom's in the assisted living section because she's still doing pretty good. Dad, not so much. He's pretty immobile. He can get around if he wants to. He just generally doesn't want to. And pretty irresponsive. But when he does respond, he's afraid. He's angry. Mom, she comes and visits him a lot, a couple hours a day. But then when she's done visiting, she goes back to her section. In her section, she's happy. It's amazing. She's involved in everything all the time. I ask her to fold towels, she folds towels. Ask her if she wants to play euchre, she plays euchre. Ask her if she wants to read a book, hand her some book written by a Catholic priest somewhere, she'll read it. Ask her if she wants to go get ice cream, she says yes. She's always active. Now, let's move ahead a couple more years. Now Mom's living at the Gell's home in Coldwater. It's right across the street from the Dairy Queen. It's a bed and breakfast now, but they used to take care of people like Mom. Now this is great for me because I get a visitor almost every day on my way to work. I'll stop by and spend 10, 15 minutes, maybe a little longer with Mom. Almost every day. And things are still a lot the same for Mom, okay? So, Janet asked her to help with something, Mom's gonna say yes. And maybe she's starting to put together these puzzles. See this example? 1,000-piece Thomas Kincaid puzzles. She puts them together one after the other after the other. It's a good pastime for her. And now you can ask her to play rummy. She says yes. Ask her if she wants to read an article out of the Reader's Digest. She says yes. Ask her if she wants to go get some ice cream at the Dairy Queen across the street. Mom says yes. Now, it might be the third time that day because she's forgotten. She got visitors from some of her other 13 kids. They brought her to ice cream ready too. But she just keeps saying yes. Now, move ahead a couple more years, okay? Mom couldn't stay at the Gell's home anymore, so now she's at Briarwood. And when I stop in and visit her still almost every day in the morning, you get there, she's in the activity center because Mom's active. So yeah, I visit her and stop in and ask her if she wants to play some cards and maybe a little high-low. Mom says yes. They ask her to fold towels. Mom says yes. Ask her if she wants to put together a puzzle, one of those 10-piece child's puzzles. Mom says yes. Hey, Mom, you want me to read you an Aesop's Fable? Or something from Brer Rabbit? Mom says yes. But now we got a new tradition. Every day, from one of the first days Mom went to Briarwood, and it literally went on for years, when I would stop in, I remembered it. Well, one, it's good to get people out of their chairs. And I remembered Mom, she loved to dance, and she loved an old song. So right there in that activity room, and I didn't really care who was there, and there was always a lot of people there, get Mom up out of the chair. And I'd take her in my arms, and I'd sing a song loud. Now, you need to sing along. You all know this song, but you got to sing along because otherwise you got to listen to how bad I sound. But yeah, I'd take Mom in my arms and I'd sing, "Could I have this dance for the rest of my life? Would you be my partner every night? And when we're together, it feels so right. Could I have this dance for the rest of my life?" Then I'd set Mom down in that chair. I'd put on my coat and I'd walk down that long hallway to leave that activity room and go to work. But you know, one day it turned out a little different. I sat her down in the chair and walked down that hallway, and I heard Mom saying that loud voice that sometimes Alzheimer's patients use. She was talking to the aide that was there, and she said, "Who was that guy I just danced with?" Actually, she called me young man. And I stopped. And I turned around, and I'm sure I had a surprised look on my face. Now, I shouldn't have had a surprised look on my face, but I'm sure I did. And the aide, her name's Marcia, we all knew each other because, you know, if you're the strange guy singing in the activity center every morning, people get to know you. Marcia comes running down the hallway, literally running. And she looks at me and she says, "Dan, are you okay?" And I gave her an answer that at the time even I didn't understand. But I remember saying, "Yeah, I'm not just okay. I'm amazing. My mom, she's in her 80s and obviously very confused, but she's willing to get up and dance with somebody she doesn't know. I think that's awesome." And I put on my hat and walked out the building. So now that brings us to today and the lessons I learned from that, because you see, since then I've had a lot of time to think about my time with my mom, and I've learned a lot of different lessons, but the one I want to share with you today, it's about how fear steals from you like a shoplifter. You know, we are all told all the time, don't let fear keep you from going after your dreams, you know, climbing Mount Everest and stuff like that. Well, most of us are never going to climb Mount Everest. And if you talk to a big retailer like Walmart, they'll tell you they're not afraid of somebody breaking in and stealing everything they have. No, what costs them so much money is the people who day in and day out steal a little bit here, a pair of jeans there, a shirt here. The shoplifters, day in and day out, that's what costs them so much money. And you see, fear is just like that. That's where it really costs us money. And that's what my mom didn't do. She said yes over and over and over again. And that's what we need to do. Because when you have that chance to, you know, introduce yourself to that interesting person in the room, or maybe it's to make a phone call to an old friend you haven't talked to in a long time. Not sure if they want to talk to you though. Or maybe it's call that prospect or donor, or ask somebody to volunteer for something you believe in. Could be any of those things. Or maybe it's to sing with some friends in a lobby of a hotel room that should have had, or hotel that should have had a lot better sound system in their lobby. Or whatever. You know, and when you don't do those things because you're afraid of being embarrassed or whatever, it doesn't just steal from you. Think about all the things, the memories I wouldn't have, the good times I wouldn't have experienced, the lessons I wouldn't have learned if my mom had gotten in the habit of saying no instead of saying yes. So the next time you want to say no to something, you want to let fear steal a moment from you because of your fear or pride or nervousness, today, if that happens, just hum a little song. And say yes. Thank you.